my argument with Krauthammer is the problem is that many neoconservatives have adopted the point of view, the strategic prism of many hardliners on the Israeli right, including their interpretation of Arab motives and behavior, this idea that the Arabs don't understand any principles of legitimacy, it's only force that they respect, this sort of thing, which then dictates a whole way of dealing with that region as a whole. And I just said that was a big mistake. And I think that, that continues to be a problem. I mean, Krauthammer said that's anti-Semitism, but I just don't believe that that's really what was motivating me.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me hard to understand how we now neoconservatives have contempt for the Arabs. I think they only believe in force and are ludicrously utopian about the possibility of building an Arab democracy in Iraq, but maybe those can go together. Can they? Is that what you think?
Well, that's a big, that was a big
but
contradiction.
We're just totally,
that was a big contradiction, it seems to me, in the position.
Maybe it's a big contradiction in the understanding of the position, and maybe one shouldn't impute views generally that in such a, but anyway, it's not, I just don't think it's empirically true what Frank says, that many neoconservatives were very much influenced by Israeli hardline views on the rest of the Middle East.
Maybe Fukuyama heard Don Kagan on the radio the day after 9/11 saying that the Arabs respect us the most when we are strong.
It's only force that they respect.
We are at our worst, and the Arabs are angriest at us and treat us the worst when they perceive us as being weak, lacking in will, and unable or unwilling to act. As soon as we do act strongly, do you remember what the view of the Arab world was to us right after the Gulf War? We were at the strongest situation we've ever been in.
I'm not even sure. I don't even know that many Israeli hardliners, I don't think very well, but...
In the same radio broadcast, Don Kagan and his son Fred suggested we invade Palestinian territories with U.S. ground troops.
We may not know who has conducted this particular attack. I think we already know there are a large number of terrorist organizations that have identified themselves with this, not in the sense that they did it, but that in the sense that they approve of it. We know that they have extensive bases in Palestine and Palestinian area. We have to take the war to these people. I think we should hit them immediately. There's
How?
no reason to wait. How?
Air power?
No, I would prefer to see ground forces go into Palestine and hunt out Hezbollah. I would like to see Delta Force raids. I would like to see the full panoply of covert operations. But I would also like to see American ground forces deployed into Palestine to restore peace in that area.
One key place is certainly the Palestinian Authority. These guys are at the center of all sorts of terrorist organizations that we've seen.
Well, now, what does that mean, again, in terms of
it means
military
force? Absolutely.
On the day of 9/11, clips were played on CNN, Fox News, and NBC of Palestinians allegedly dancing in the streets, celebrating the 9/11 attacks.
However, while some Palestinians were taking to the streets in apparent celebration, one youth was quoted as saying, as he received a sweets handed around in celebration, "This is a sweet from Osama bin Laden," he said.
Throwing candy, distributing candy to passers-by. The U.S. government obviously has become...
They're celebrating. Wreck their lives. For once, allow us... Whether you need Israel to do it or the United States to do it, I don't care which.
To me, that alone is a reason to bomb them.
Yet there was no context offered for how or why this footage was recorded, or even why it was aired in the middle of a national emergency, while thousands of New Yorkers were still struggling to find out if their loved ones were alive or dead.
Jumping up and down, celebrating.
5-year-olds. Those 5-year-olds will grow up to attack our children.
They're showing it right now.
Kill them.
And for 4 hours before bin Laden was blamed on television, the attacks themselves were blamed on the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
A Palestinian group has claimed responsibility for the plane crashes into the World Trade Center. This is a group called the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
One Palestinian organization is claiming that the responsibility identified as the Palestinian group, the DFLP.
There has been a claim of responsibility, according to the Reuters news agency, from something called the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
Don and Fred probably picked up on this, and they understood that reality didn't matter. It was perception of reality that was more important.
How would the American people respond to the kind of war you are advocating?
Enthusiastically.
Enthusiastically, you
I
said.
believe that they would. There's every evidence the American people are right now very enthusiastic for attacking the sorts of people who are capable of even thinking about doing these kinds of acts.
Palestinian organizations has been involved in violence before. It is the first organization to claim responsibility for this.
Arab and Muslim communities in the U.S. and Canada are feeling a growing backlash over the New York and Washington terrorist attacks.
Look at NBC.
Kill them
Channel
for
4.
celebrating. Kill them.
In their schools at 5
Look,
years
there
old,
they
they're
are.
being
Here
indoctrinated.
they are. They're all celebrating in the streets. The Palestinians are celebrating in the streets, ladies and gentlemen. They're putting up the victory sign. Children are cheering. Today, drop the nuclear bomb on them.
There's no reason for those
teach them a lesson.
Give them nuclear warfare. It's the only thing they understand. Like the bastard children they are.
Palestinians were taking to the streets in apparent celebration.
Don and Fred knew full well that Palestinians had absolutely nothing to do with the attacks, but they took advantage of the intense emotional climate to plant the seeds that Palestinians were actually our enemies.
I didn't say that we know exactly who conducted this attack. There are a few groups out there that are dedicated to conducting exactly this sort of attack, and I said that we should attack those groups regardless of whether we know exactly which one specifically conducted this.
And the groups that